So did you watch your feelings of happy, unhappy? No? Good to watch them and see how we are tugged around by attachment to happy feelings and aversion to miserable ones and spacing out to neutral ones. And it really, when we can watch that in ourselves, then we really understand why people get so confused, because they have a happy feeling about something and the craving for that, for more and better of that feeling, just they follow it wherever it goes to get the external object that they think will bring more of that feeling. And just so many problems ensue from that. So good to, do some research with it. So I saw that nobody was listening to the talk this morning because there's no questions. Yeah, if people listen to a talk and they think about it, then there's questions. Maybe you just were all having a neutral feeling and zoning out somewhere. Okay. So we'll continue this time going more in depth about the first one, the mindfulness of the body, which I think most of the texts and most of the teachers spend more energy and time on this one. I'm not sure if it's because it's the first one, and so by explaining how to meditate on one, then you know the major method on, and you carry that forward to the others. Or if it's because how we relate to our body is very sticky, should I say, and very confused. And maybe that might be why they talk about it so much. In either case, it's very interesting. Okay, so we talked about the common characteristics at the end of last session, that all conditioned things are impermanent, that they are all polluted things polluted by grasping at inherent existence, are dukkha, or not undesirable, dukkha, unsatisfactory. Yeah, they don't cut the grade for making us happy, and that all phenomena are selfless. Okay, so that's the three common characteristics. In the Theravada tradition, we hear a lot about the three characteristics, and those are the three. So they're found also in our tradition. So I'm having uncomfortable feeling right now, and my craving is to readjust this cushion. You see, it's very practical what we learn. Then unpleasant feeling, your robe path falls off. Okay, so then each of the what we have four distorted conceptions, okay, that you've probably heard of in other teachings, okay, And those are very much like the three characteristics that we talked about. Attachment, craving. You there, here. Maybe could I try sitting on it? See, with attachment, you want everything perfect. So the perfect cushion to sit on. Yeah. Has anybody ever found the perfect cushion? We change cushions like crazy, but we never find one that is completely comfortable. Okay, now I am sufficiently pampered with cushion. Okay, so when we talk about the four distorted conceptions, these four are correspond with each one with one of the four objects of our mindfulness. So the four distortions or distorted conceptions are thinking that things that are pure, that are impure or foul, are very pure and beautiful. Okay, and then thinking, the second one is thinking that things that are not satisfactory, things that are in the nature of dukkha, are happiness. Third one is thinking that things that are impermanent are actually permanent. And the fourth one is thinking that things that do not have a self have a self. Okay, so those are four distorted conceptions. You see, it's impermanent. It felt comfortable at first, and then after 30 seconds, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, the story of our lives, isn't it? Okay, so we have those four distorted conceptions, and each one applies to one of the objects. So holding the things that are foul or unclean or by nature are clean, that applies to the body, correlates with the body. Holding that things that are by nature dukkha, unsatisfactory, are actually happy. This corresponds with feelings. This is what we have with feelings. Thinking that things that are impermanent are permanent and static, that corresponds with the mind. And then thinking that things that are things that lack a self have a self, that corresponds with all the other phenomena. Okay, so just to give a brief outline of how that works. Okay, so the body. And I've got to say, the mindfulness of the body, I mean, it's really important. People emphasize it a lot in the teachings. Buddha emphasized it, and people don't like it. Okay, why? Because we think our body is pure and clean and the source of happiness. And the wrong conceptions we adhered to are that something that is unclean is clean. So, here we have it with our body. And I've taught this in many different circumstances, and people sometimes really like, why are you teaching this? Especially, some years ago there was this Body is Beautiful campaign. People were feeling like their body's evil and it's sinful and like that. So to overcome that, the body's beautiful, the body's the source of pleasure. And our advertising industry really goes gung-ho on this, doesn't it? Everywhere you look, there's people having sensual pleasure with the body. And, we use this kind of thing to sell laundry soap. It's true, isn't it? Yeah. And all the commercials about, your sex appeal and all of this kind of stuff. And people buy into it. The body's a source of pleasure, and every little thing now can give you more pleasure. The latest language is, what is it? Heighten your experience. Everything is about your experience, and make it blissful. And yeah, like that. Okay? But what actually is the body? Okay? How many of you took anatomy class at some point? Yeah, a few of you. Yeah, what's our body? What'd you learn about your body from? Anybody dissect a body in college or, do that? Anybody seen an autopsy? Nobody's seen an autopsy. A few of you have, okay. Yeah. So we don't like to see the inside of the body. We go, but the outside of the body, oh, somebody who's good looking, oh, what is it? Your eyes are like diamonds, your teeth are like pearls, and your breath stinks, so use this mouthwash. And you could use some dandruff shampoo also. But, we have this fascination with the body and we project so much on it. But what is it? Yeah. So, you unzip it, if you could mentally unzip, and you look at, spread the skin away and look at what it is. It's flesh and bones and blood and guts and all sorts of fluidy stuff that is rather disgusting. And there's nothing really attractive on the inside of the body. But you put a layer of skin on top, and then we think, oh, fantastic. Yeah. So in the Theravada tradition, and I say this because in researching for, this series of books for His Holiness, I spent some time at a monastery in Thailand. And, they taught me it's the 32 parts of the body, and you learn it like a poem: head, hair, nail, hair, head, hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin. And you meditate on every part of your body and, really, what is it? Okay. And I also had the opportunity in Thailand, because it's a Buddhist country, the government is more flexible about people going to autopsies. In my country, they won't let you. I don't know in Singapore. Can you stop by and probably not. Okay. But it was very interesting, and the ride there. I went with some monks in a van that the Achan of the temple had arranged, and one of the monks, a few of the monks, had been to a previous autopsy, and I was there with one other woman from Singapore. And driving there, the monks expressed much concern about us being at the autopsy. They were afraid that we would faint. Yeah, that the two women would just see the inside of the body, And the reason they were afraid of that is because the previous time one of the monks had fainted. Yeah. And we looked at them and we said, guys, we've spent time in the kitchen dealing with meat. If you grow up in a house with meat, you're pulling apart chickens, bodies, and beef. And, it's amazing people eat meat because when you have to cook it and handle it, it's really, it's like cooking a dead body, And we said, well, we've had lots of experience. We're not going to faint because of this, You guys should try working in the kitchen more, and then you won't faint. So we went in, and the man whose body we were watching for the autopsy, he had drowned the previous day. Yeah. And so he was laying on the table, totally undressed, on his back. And the guy who does the autopsy put some of the tools, right kind of around here on the corpse. And above there was, in grocery stores, there's a scale where you weigh your fruit, the hanging scales, yeah? So there was a scale like that, like in a grocery store, because he needed to, kind of find out everything he could about the internal parts of the body to see exactly what the cause of death was. So I'm going to give you the details of this. I found it quite interesting, and it'll give you some idea of how the meditation goes. But he starts at the top, and he has like a spinning saw of some sort, like a circular spinning saw. And he goes, and then pulls off the top of the head. And it comes off very easily, yeah? And so then the brains are just there, the top of the head is there. He puts it in the scale, records the weight, okay? And then he goes and he puts his hand in and pulls out the brain and weighs that. And, I forgot, actually, before he goes with the scale, he has to cut it, and then he takes the skin and he pulls it back. Yeah, I forgot to mention that, so that you have actually just the skull showing. Yeah, pulls it back, then takes the brain out, then works his way down. When he comes to the mouth, then he sticks his hand in the mouth and pulls out the tongue that's attached to some parts of the esophagus, yanks it out, weighs that. So you're seeing everything that, is really inside this man. And then he has another saw and that goes right down the sternum. Yeah, pull back the skin this way, and then he has to break some of the bones to get to the lungs. So he breaks some bones, gets to the lungs, takes them out, weighs them, and then starts going down, to your stomach, and then your liver and your spleen and pancreas, and pulling each thing out. Some are pink, some are red, some are a little bluish, and then into the upper intestine, the small intestine, and then the large intestine, and pulls everything out and weighs it. Yeah, and and that's what's in the body. Yeah, that's what was walking around recently, just all that stuff bundled together. Okay, so He has it all weighed, he has it all labeled, and then you would think, yeah, that he would put all the parts in very respectfully back in the places where they belong, so that the body is reconstituted like that. That's not what they do. He takes it, push that in, so the brains get pushed in one part, the upper intestine in the lower part, the liver somewhere else, everything. And then because he had put all these things on newspaper, all the newspaper is stuffed into the body too. So it's just like everything. Sure, get it all stuffed in, and then bring it up close here, stitch it up here. Okay, put the thing here, the skull cup here. Who knows what was in the cranium at the end? I don't know. Maybe it was his bladder, in some newspaper, all stuffed in. Put that in. I forget, he must have attached it, glued it in some way, and then pulled the skin up like this and sewn it. Yeah? Yeah, very interesting. And then you think that's what the inside of my body looks like too. That's all the inside of my body looks like. There is nothing gorgeous in there. And just as in the, when he's dissecting it, I don't see anything that is beautiful or worthy of attachment. Why, when it's all assembled in a certain order and covered with some skin, do I think it's beautiful and get attached to it? So you start thinking about this regarding the bodies of people that you are sexually attached to or attracted to, and your own body, and asking, what is it that I find beautiful? Because part by part, laying everything out like this, not beautiful, rather disgusting looking. So there you are, you're really confronted quite directly with your own misapprehension of the body as beautiful and it's clean and it's pure and it's worthy of attachment to. You're confronted with that, with like, boy, how I see the body is really a wrong view. There's nothing in it that I'm hallucinating, okay? And whoever it is I'm attracted to, that's what their body looks like too, okay? So the purpose of this meditation is not to make us disgusted in the sense of, it stinks, not like that. And the purpose isn't, to make us throw up or anything. The purpose is just to be able to see the body for what it is. Because right now we're not seeing it for what it is. And as a result, we have expectations that the body is going to, be the source of pleasure and enjoyment. Whereas, I explained this morning that as your body gets older, it is no longer the source of pleasure and enjoyment for yourself. And, you don't look so great to other people either. My sister was telling me that when she was younger, when she went into stores to go shopping, it was so easy to find the guys who would help her find what she wanted. But now she's in her 50s, she goes into stores, nobody wants to help her. Yeah? Because, this is how we judge people. It's really rather sad when you think about it. Yeah? So let me go through the list of 32 items that they recite. But first, okay. Yeah, so the body's composed of these 32 impure substances, the 4 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and the elemental derivatives, visual form, odor, taste, and tactile. Yeah. And we're not fabricating or making up anything on the body when we do the mindfulness of it. We're just seeing it as it actually is. Okay. So let me call up the other file. I at one time had the list of 32 memorized, but that was a few years ago. Okay, so it's divided into 6 groups. Okay, the skin pentad, meaning there's 5 parts: head, hair, body, hair, nail, teeth, skin. The kidney, and so when you do the meditation, okay, head, hair, this stuff, whatever you have left of it. Okay, and you think, why? How does that appear to me? Well, okay, me personally, I spent years growing my hair out. Yeah. I wanted long hair. Everybody had long hair. I wanted long, straight, blonde hair. That was what everybody had, what everybody thought was beautiful. Long, straight, blonde hair. I had short, curly, brown hair. Okay. What a source of suffering as a teenager that was. Yeah, do you remember being a teenager and how concerned you are with your appearance and how you want to look different than you are? Yeah, it's incredible. People have all, I don't see anybody here with it, but where I live, people have chartreuse hair, they have scarlet hair, they dye their hair. Well, before he became a monastic trainee, he had a mohawk, with a thing in the middle. And what colors were it? Every color. Yeah, you dyed it from time to time, different colors. Yeah, so we all want to look different than we look, even with a blue mohawk. No. I saw pictures, he showed me pictures once. I was like, oh, really? Okay. So there's the skin pentad, the kidney pentad, which is muscles, sinews, bones, marrow, and kidney. So you can tell most of that is a group surrounding movement, bones and muscles. Then the lungs pentad, heart, liver, midriff. Midriff is the covering of the muscles, the sheaths of the muscles. Connective tissue. Then the spleen and the lungs, that's the 3rd group. The 4th is the brain pentad that starts out with the intestines and then goes to the entrails, which is the mesentery, the supporting membranes. The gorge, the content of the stomach, and then dung, what you poop out, and then the last one is the brain. Okay, and then the fats, cestad, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, and fat. Is that imagining those things? Yeah, I mean, you could imagine taking that out, okay, a bile of blood, a bowl of blood, one of phlegm, and pus, then blood, then sweat, then fat. Yeah, like the 7 offering bowls that you put on your altar every morning. Yeah, are those so beautiful? And then the urine system, tears, grease. Grease is like the stuff on the soles, the sweat on the soles of your feet. So tears, grease, spittle, snot, oil from the joints, and urine. Again, gorgeous. So when you ordain as a monk, you learn these, and you are expected, you're encouraged to meditate on them, so that you can come to see the reality of the body. And so little chant: head, hair, nail, hair, head, hair, body, hair, nail, teeth, skin, flesh, sinews, bones, marrow, kidney, and you chant the whole thing, but then you go through slowly, meditating on each one and really thinking, what's its color, its shape, its function. Yeah, you take out all those anatomy books that you haven't looked at for years, and you just do some research into what the body is. Okay, so you go through all 32 one by one, and then you learn it backwards too, so you can do it that way. Yeah. So there's quite a bit that you do with that meditation of going through each part. There's reciting it, visualizing each one, looking at the function of each one, and so on. Now, like I said before, many people they don't like this. I was at one Dharma center in the US. They asked me to teach mindfulness of the body, and I taught it. And the people were like, and this was a group of people who had studied Dharma for a long time. It wasn't new people. Yeah, it was people who had already studied. But I taught this, and then they said, why do we have to learn this? This is so unpleasant to think about. We want to think about emptiness and the Nagarjuna's refutations of inherent existence. And then what I reminded them of is in Nagarjuna's text, The Precious Garland, there's a verse that says, if you can't even understand the foulness of the body, which you can see with your eyes, it's an evident phenomena. It's not a hidden phenomena. Yeah, it's an evident one. If you can't see that and realize that, how in the world are you going to understand something that is much more subtle, like emptiness, and difficult to realize? Yeah, I told them that. They didn't like that either. Yeah, but this is, it's something important. We have to understand what's easier to understand first, and kind of overcome some of those really gross misconceptions, like thinking that the body is beautiful. Yeah. So this meditation is often done when somebody has a lot of sexual desire, kind of cool it down. When they have a lot of attachment to their own body, yeah, to be able to see it for what it is. And I think if we do this meditation a lot during our life, then when we die, we aren't grasping at this body. Because they say that at the time of death, we sense that we're separating from everything. And this body we've been with since we were born, it's the abode of our identity. We want it. It's how we identify who we are different from somebody else. It's been the source of pleasure for, sometime during our life. And now we have to separate from it, and there can be incredible grasping at that moment. But if we've done this practice of mindfulness of the body, we know that there's absolutely nothing there in the body to start with that is worthy of being attached to. Yeah, you don't hear love songs about, oh, your pancreas is so beautiful. One of our nuns made up a song. I don't know it by heart, but it was really funny, kind of singing the praises of the different parts of the body that we get enamored with. But you don't see that, do you? When you think somebody's attractive, do you think, oh, those waves in your brain, with the blood vessels there oozing. It's so beautiful. I love you. No, I don't, your eyes are diamonds and your teeth are like pearls business, not your pancreas is, such a beautiful color of pink. Yeah. And your intestine. Oh, I could faint when I see your intention. And I want to hug that bag of bones and never let it go. Next time we should learn her song. It's really quite good. Is it on the web by any chance? We don't have it there. We should put it there. We're very creative at the Abbey, you see. Songs to suit the occasion and so on. Okay. So, I should tell this story too. When I lived in Singapore in the 80s, I was doing a lot with the young adult groups, the Polis and the Buddhist groups and the unis. And one young man had come to me and said, I'm just always looking at people. I really want to calm my sexual energies. So I gave him this meditation to do. And he came back a few weeks later and he said, oh, it worked. Meaning, I'm not attracted to people that way anymore, but I want to be. But why? Why do we want to be? Anyway, next time I saw him, he was married, so he must have gotten over it. Okay, so when we're doing the meditation, we think about the color of the body, the shape of the body, touching it, and so on. So one part of mindfulness of the body is just seeing it for what it is. Another meditation on mindfulness of the body is what happens to the body after we die and the body starts to decay. Okay, so in ancient times, they used to go to the cemeteries because when somebody died, they would basically just throw the body as it was in the cemetery and let it decay. It decayed pretty fast in the heat of India. And then the jackals and the foxes and different beings would come and munch on it too. And what was interesting is the monastics picked up the cloth, the shrouds that the bodies were initially wrapped in when they were thrown in the cemetery. And that's what we made our robes out of. It was very difficult to get cloth. So you picked up cloth from the cemetery, from the roadside, wherever it was, cut it into different shaped patches. And that's why our robes have many patches on them in a certain pattern, because of that. In ancient, not ancient, but in Tibet, before it was invaded by the Chinese communists, when people died, they would take the body up the mountain, and there would be somebody who hacked it into pieces. And then they did what is called a sky burial. They just spread the body out like that. And all the vultures came and had lunch. And personally speaking, I've always thought I would like that, I mean, to make some use of this body for some sentient beings after I'm dead. To me, that would, that makes sense and that would feel good. What we do in our culture are we decorate the body, we embalm it. In Singapore, do you embalm? Yeah, you've got to. It's too hot. Yeah. So you embalm people. I was at a friend of mine's mother's funeral, and she had had Hodgkin's for a long time. So her body was really decimated by the disease. But they did a fantastic job in embalming her, so that when people walk by, some people said, "Oh, I haven't seen her looking so good in a long time." They're talking about her corpse looking better than she looked in life. Yeah. So we completely ignore and cover up what the body is. In the States, they have cemeteries that have art museums in them, or big lawns. And I think some people even rent out some of the spaces for family parties or whatever. I mean, that's how much we just hide death. We hide, decay of the body. Okay, so when you're one of the corpse meditations, yeah, is you imagine a blue corpse in the cemetery. I think the body turns blue in ancient India in the heat first. Okay, when it decays further, then it becomes red, different shades of red. And finally, when it is a rotten body, a rotten corpse, it's black. So in your meditation, you visualize these things, you can start out, here's the person, the body when it's alive and looks nice. And then you follow the cause and effect nature of the body. The beautiful body decays and becomes blue, and then red, and then black. And then meanwhile, the birds are picking away at it. The worms and maggots are eating it. Yeah, the dogs are chewing on the bones, and so on. And so you really imagine that and visualize that. If you can't, then there's plenty of books showing these things. We took pictures at the autopsy that I was at, so when I teach this at the Abbey, people can look at the pictures. And also, someone gave me pictures. You remember some years ago the big tsunami caused by the earthquake in Indonesia, and how many people were at the beach in Thailand and so on that were just killed by the waves. Well, somebody, must have been somebody I knew who knew somebody, was there identifying bodies, because it was really hard after people were drowned to identify who was who. Some of the people had their ID on them. So they would put the bodies out in the sand and then put the person's ID, with the picture of the person next to it when they were identifying the bodies. And you'd look at the picture on the ID card, and then you'd look at what remained of the body. And there was no way, without somebody telling you that those were the same body, that you would have guessed that. You know, the bodies from the tsunami, they were bloated, yeah, and decaying from being in the water for so long and so forth. So we're really encouraged to look at these things. And like I said, it's not to make us depressed or to look at the body and go, ugh. It's just reality. Yeah, there's nothing like reality, because if our minds are attuned to reality, our minds can accept things that happen. It's when our mind rejects reality that then we have problems. Okay. So the body as it is, the decaying body, then the skeleton. Okay, it's the third meditation. And it's saying here that in some texts it stresses that this is the way the bodhisattvas meditate on the body. So I like this meditation quite a bit. I'm going to just tell you how to do it. I'm not going to tell you how I felt while doing it or anything like this. I want you to do it yourself, and I'd like to hear your experiences when you do it. Okay? So there's several different ways to meditate on the skeleton, which, by the way, in Theravada monasteries in Thailand, outside of the meditation hall, there's a skeleton, not a plastic one from anatomy class. There's a real skeleton. Yeah. Everybody, has something like that. Okay. So one of the meditations goes, you start out focusing here in the middle of your forehead, and you imagine like a circle, and where that circle of flesh is, you take the flesh out so that you just see the bone where that circle is, okay? And then, so it's the bone is about the size of the tip of your thumb. And then as you meditate, you imagine the flesh kind of evaporating, disappearing, vanishing from that small circle, going up here. And so, your scalp comes off, your hair comes out, your skin is peeled away. All of that, coming into your face. The cartilage from your nose disappears. Your muscles here that are tight when you're young, that make you look young, they all disappear. Everything in here, the inside, not only the outside muscles and so on, and skin, but also the inside. Okay, so your gums, your tongue, all the inside tissue in your nose and so forth, all of that slowly just disappears. And so you continue your way down through the body. And when you're doing this, you're not thinking of somebody out there. You're sitting here thinking, my body, and imagining all of this happening. Okay. And so you strip everything away. So there's only a skeleton. And the skeleton is, all the tendons are gone. So all the things that are usually attached to the bones, that's all gone. So you just have the white bones or off-white bones, and that's all that's left. Yeah. And then you keep meditating, and you imagine that your skeleton gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, and it can fill the whole universe, or that your skeleton becomes many skeletons, again filling the whole universe. Yeah, so that the universe, everywhere you look, is just bones. That's all there is. Okay, so all your fancy jewelry is gone. Your nice clothes, your nice shoes, yeah, your expensive yoga clothes, your prom dress, your tuxedo from when you got married, all that is gone. Okay, all your jewelry, everything. Yeah, your fancy hairdos. Yeah, everything's gone. Yeah. And you sit there and just develop concentration. That becomes an object of your concentration. To develop serenity is the image of the universe filled with bones, being just bones. And you focus on that for a while. And then you imagine, if you've done it so that your one body has become enormous, a huge, huge skeleton, then after you've focused on that filling the universe, then it contracts and contracts and comes down to be the size that it is right now. Okay, so that's the first meditation there. The next way is you start again with the spot here where the flesh and tissue dissolves, and then again all the tissue is dissolving and disappearing, vanishing, and all the way down. Okay, and again you do the thing of the skeleton, your whole body becoming a huge skeleton, filling up the universe, yeah, or many, many skeletons. Okay, and then again, just like the first time, it all contracts and it comes into again your body as it is now. So there's that skeleton sitting on the meditation cushion. Yeah, just the bones, that's all. And then, starting with your feet, all the tissue starts reappearing slowly on the bones. Okay, so with your feet, then the tendons, the muscles, the skin, the blood vessels, all of that starts reconstituting and coming, as you go up, all the tissue is coming back on. So that it kind of looks like there you are again, this with all the tissue and the skin. And you do that all the way up to the top of the skull, and you leave the top of the skull as just bone. But the rest of your body has been reconstituted. Okay. And then you just meditate on that. Okay, just the skull appearing. The rest, the bones are still there. All the tissue has reappeared. Okay, then a third way you do it is exactly that same way, but this time after the flesh and tissue is coming back, it covers the top of your head, and it just leaves a little hole here in your middle forehead where you started off. And then you again concentrate on that. Okay, so these meditations, all of them are very potent antidotes to desire. Because when we really look at the nature of the body, just automatically our desire for the body decreases. So like I said personally, I found that one about the bones, and especially when the flesh starts reappearing on them, I find that quite potent. So try that. Okay. Then also other parts of the meditation on the body includes meditation on the breath. Okay, so there's several different kinds of meditation on the breath that you can do. Some people find meditation on the breath very helpful. Other people, not so much. Okay, in the Tibetan tradition, we usually just meditation with the breath as your object is that's not widely taught. But what is taught is at the beginning of a meditation session to calm your mind, to focus on the breath, and then turn to your whatever other meditation object you have. Yeah, in the Theravada, they do a lot with the breath itself, focusing here at the upper lip and the nostrils, or in the Vipassana tradition, focusing at the lower belly and the rise and fall of the belly as you inhale and exhale. Okay. So that's a little bit about mindfulness of the body. What do you think? Yeah? Has your image of the body changed a little bit today? Yeah. When you now walk through the mall and you're thinking, oh, those clothes are like really good, I want to get them. How long do you think that thought will last? If you forget the meditation, you'll go buy the clothes. But if you don't forget the meditation, then you go, why do I want to buy something beautiful to decorate this? Okay. Shantideva, the very great Indian 8th century sage, he wrote the book Engaging in the Bodhisattva's Deeds. Some of you may have read that or studied it. In chapter 8, the chapter on meditation in his book, he goes into a long description about the body and how we relate to the body. So in some ways it's similar to this, but in other ways it's different because he really talks about what we do to get pleasure from the body. And he goes into great detail in terms of ancient Indian marriage rites. Yeah. So we may not have those same kind of courting things that the exact same rituals that they did, but it's still there, in whatever culture. Yeah. And he just goes in again and again and tears us apart physically to look at what the body is, but tears us apart in terms of what is it you are so attached to and craving for the body. If you hold on a minute, I will call up that text. I'll read you some of Shantideva's verses. How many of you studied Shantideva's text? Oh, not very many. This text is a very important one. You really should study. And I mean, he's just an incredible. Everything is so applicable to our lives. Okay, let me find it on here. Mm-hmm. How come whenever you want something with your computer won't show you the list that you want? We're getting closer. Okay. Having departed to the cemeteries, when shall I come to understand that this body of mine and the skeletons of others are equal in being subject to decay? You ever think of your body as being subject to decay? Then, because of its odor, not even the foxes will want to come close to this body of mine, for this is what will become of it. Although this body arose as one thing, the bones and flesh with which it was created will break up and separate. How much more so will friends and others? At birth I was born alone, and at death too I shall die alone. As this pain cannot be shared from others, what use are obstacle-making friends? Okay, let me go on. For the sake of women, he's talking about women. He's talking to a group of monks. So he's assuming that they're all straight. So we know that there's half the population is women, and we also know that not everybody is straight. Okay, so instead of saying women, I'm going to say whoever you're attracted to. So, for the sake of whoever you're attracted to, many requests are first of all made through go-betweens. All forms of transgression and even notoriety are not avoided for their sake. So, you have to do a good background check before the matchmaker finds somebody for you. I engage in fearful deeds for them and will even consume my wealth. But these very bodies of theirs, which I greatly enjoy in the sexual embrace, are nothing other than skeletons. They are not autonomous and are identityless. Rather than being so desirous and completely obsessed, why do I not go to the state beyond sorrow instead? In other words, we're putting so much energy into our bodies and the pleasure of the body and so on. You know, we have to look good, and we have to walk a certain way, and you go to the gym to make you bulge where you aren't bulging and make you not bulge where you are bulging. And, you know, what's it for? He's asking. Yeah. Instead of putting so much energy into beautifying the body and pampering the body, you know, we should keep it clean. We should keep it healthy. It's the basis for a precious human life. And we need the human body to have the human mind. And we need the human mind as the best basis for practicing the path to awakening. Okay? So we keep our body clean, we keep it healthy. But what he's saying is like, why do we go beyond that and spend so much time and money and energy, you know, making the body look good and making it happy? Instead, why don't we put energy into going to the state beyond sorrow? In other words, going to nirvana. Yeah, because when you look, the amount of time that we put into with the body, making beautiful, taking care of it, if we put that much time into our Dharma practice, we may have really gotten somewhere in our practice. In the first place, so here he's talking about the ancient Indian wedding rite. It sounds so romantic. In the first place, I make efforts to lift her veil, and when it is raised, she bashfully looked down. But previously, whether anyone looked or not, her face was covered with a cloth. So why am I protecting it? Yet now, after she's died, why do I run away upon directly beholding this face, which disturbs the mind as it is being revealed to me by the vultures? So this person, you know, when you finally got to marry them, you know, they were so beautiful. Also, one little bit of wisdom, anybody who is young is good looking. Okay? Anybody who is young is good looking. Yeah, so don't worry if you're young, if you think you're not good looking. Everybody's good looking. Everybody who's old, forget it. Okay, we're not good looking. That's it. I was one time she was a teenage girl, maybe 13, 14, just really getting interested in boys. And we were having a picnic at the park, and there were some high school boys, you know, playing ball or whatever. And she's looking at them. I could tell she's kind of sussing out of each one. Oh, that one looks pretty good. That one looks even better. And then I said, do you know, imagine what they're going to look like in 50 years. And her face just went. I said, you know, when you're attracted to that one like they look now, and like you want to be with them forever, 50 years later, they're not going to look like that. Yeah? She looks so disappointed. But it's true. Yeah? Previously, I protected her body when others cast their eyes upon it. Why, miser, do you not protect it now while it is being devoured by these birds? Yeah? The body you thought that was so desirous is now just a corpse. Since vultures and others are eating this pile of meat that I behold, why did I offer flower garlands, sandalwood, and ornaments to that which is now the food of others? I love the way he takes these like romantic images of, offering flowers and sandalwood and, anointing her and everything. These beautiful images. And then what does it become? The vulture's lunch. If I am frightened by these skeletons I see, even though they do not move, why am I not frightened by walking corpses which are moved about by a few impulses? If I'm scared of skeletons, why aren't I scared of living skeletons, living people who are basically a bunch of skeletons walking around? That doesn't seem to bother me at all, but actually, seeing what's inside the body bothers me, but just seeing the outside, oh, that looks good. So you see how he just keeps asking the same question in many different ways. Okay. Although I am attached to it when it is covered with skin, why do I not desire it when it is uncovered? And since I have no need for it then, why copulate with it when it is covered by skin? Good question. Since both excrement and saliva arise solely from food, why do I dislike excrement but find joy in saliva? Yeah. Shantideva doesn't pull any punches. He's really honest. So, this one. Cotton too is soft to the touch, but while I find no sexual delight in a pillow, I think that a woman's body or somebody's body that you're attracted to does not emit a putrid odor. Lustful one, you are confused as to what is unclean. Thinking that they cannot sleep with this cotton, although it is soft to the touch, confused, negative, and lustful people become angry towards it instead. If I am not attached to what is unclean, then why do I copulate with the lower parts of others' bodies, which are merely cages of bones tied together with muscles, plastered over with the mud of flesh? Okay, so we better stop. I'm talking to an audience of lay people. You're going to throw tomatoes at me if I go on about this. But really, thinking about the body in this way, again, I find very helpful, so that the mind can look and see what is really important and what is not. Yeah, because I don't know about you, but when I was young, I was very influenced by magazines and books and pictures of all these young models, that are beautiful, with that look on their face, and somebody else's look, and, all this romantic kind of stuff. And then as a teenager, you feel like, oh, I don't look like those people. Yeah, who's going to love me? Something's wrong with me. All your teenage confusion. This happens in Singapore, right? It's not just the US, everybody. Confusion as a teen, I'm not good enough. Other people look better than me. nobody will love me. You know, everybody else goes out with a lot of people, but nobody asks me out. What's wrong with me? All this kind of junk that comes in our mind, you know. And so, oh, you know, I better go to the gym and build my body up, or I better go on a diet and slim my body down, and so much mental anguish about our body. You know, I see a lot of nodding heads, you know, and I know this was certainly the case for me in teenage years. And when you really can step back and think, you know, all this stuff is just society's big lie. Yeah, it's just a lie by society that your value is how you look. Yeah, because our value isn't how we look. Yeah, that you don't become Buddhas by, you know, depending on the size of your nose, okay, or what kind of skin. If you know, like all the people who have pimples can't become Buddhas. That is not what, you know, that's not it. And yet we have so much pain and anguish about our body when we're young, and then it continues, you know, when you're an adult too. And so I think this kind of meditation is very, very helpful for stripping away all that, all those wrong ideas that create that confusion, that create the misery of feeling like we are not good enough. Okay, because we are good enough, and our value is not in how we look. And anyway, even the models don't look like the pictures of the models because they've all been brush dry, brush dry, something airbrushed, all the photos, you know, so that they look thinner or more muscular than they really are. You know, they take away all your freckles, all your pimples. They, you know, take away the weird shape of your nose and make it nice. No, nobody looks like the pictures in the magazines. Yeah. And so when I consider what the advertising industry creates, yeah, in order to sell things, and how much torment it creates in young people, starting when you're a kid, I mean, even younger than teenage years, and then exacerbated in teenager, continuing when you're older. You know, how much suffering is created um, by looking at this and thinking, I'm supposed to be like that, and I'm not. Okay. And I think this is especially the case for women. Yeah. Because men, okay, if they, you know, if they make a lot of money and they're old and they have gray hair, that's okay. Yeah. But a woman, according to society, her ultimate value is as a sex object. So you better look beautiful or you ain't worth nothing. And this is such a big lie. And yet, this is what we women are taught from when we're little kids. And it's not true. And it makes us lose confidence in our ability. It makes us step back and be shy instead of stepping forward and using our talents and abilities to benefit the world. Instead, we sit there and like, oh, if I only look like this one, if I only look like that one. And society doesn't let up on you. Yeah, Hillary Clinton, when she was running for president, they talked as much about what she wore, what her clothes were, as what she thought and how she would handle different crises, world crises, if she became president. You know, and yeah, I mean, she was really unfairly tainted by this, many stereotypes. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House in the US, I don't know, you've probably heard of Hillary Clinton, yeah? Well, the world would be really different if she had won. Well, she did win. She actually won the popular vote. Anyway, I won't go into all of that. Yeah, this guy with the orange hair, he's too much. Yeah. But, and he's vastly overweight. Does anybody comment on that? No. Yeah. But if a woman, is like 1/4 of a pound more, oh, look. And it's all just total rubbish. And I think we need to call it out for that. And I feel very sad when I see women buying into that stereotype, and then spending so much of their own time and energy trying to look different than they look. You gotta grow your hair out, color it different, and then your makeup here and this, and then having your what do you call it, a facelift. Yeah. We were talking about this one movie star, or was it Nancy? There was some movie star that died last year, one woman who was old, but, she wanted that, she had written down before she died that, okay, open casket, but she has to have her hair done. After she dies, she has to go to the beauty parlor. Or maybe the beauty parlor has to come to the mortuary, do her hair so it looks really nice, make her look really good in the casket. I mean, this is how she spent her last days with a human life, worrying about these kinds of things. Yeah. So I think we all need to become quite wise to how the advertising industry manipulates us and makes us feel that we aren't good enough when we are plenty good enough. Okay, so this goes for men and women. Yeah. And if you're thinking about advertising as a career, think more. Do you want to create this? If you're thinking about video games as a career, and this relates back to what I was saying about how infatuated we are with developing technology. What are video games all about? Yeah, people killing other people. And that's how you rank up points. So there's this team and that team, and I don't know all the video games. I don't go near that stuff. But, I'm sure there's some with dragons and knights, and everything is always, different people fighting and killing each other in games, in cartoons, what we show children from the time they're very young. Even the fairy tales we read are filled sometimes with violence and, the characters in them acting really horribly. And yet we read the fairy tales to kids, we make cartoons and video games that teach them violence. Yeah. And then some people make a lot of money doing this, it's their job, and they think that they're quite clever. But I think we really need to think as individuals and as a society, what things do we want to teach kids so that they will be good citizens, kind people, and not just look at, how to make a buck. So you see, I told you, my Dharma to me relates to everything in life, and so your ethical principles as a Dharma practitioner, come into how you earn your living. Mm-hmm. Okay, so time for questions or comments. Okay. Okay, this is a good question. It seems like there's a lot to meditate on the four establishments of mindfulness. You're right. Yeah. Is there a program or meditation platform or guided meditations that we can practice to familiarize ourselves with the techniques? I don't know of any. Does anybody know of any series of guided meditations on, let's say, mindfulness of the body or feelings or anything? I don't know of one. It would be a good one to make. Am I giving myself more work? Or whoever wrote the question, maybe you want to learn some of these things and then make a series of guided meditations on it. Yeah. But I know guided meditations is nice to listen to somebody who guides you. What you can do, though, is listen to the descriptions, write down an outline of all the salient points in the right order, and then you can read them out and pause in between each important point. Read it out and tape it. Yeah, and then the next point and tape it. And what the conclusion is, what you're supposed to understand at the end of the meditation, and put it on tape, and then play the tape and meditate according to the outline that you made based on the teachings you heard. Okay.
Thank you, Venerable. Right at the end here. Thank you. I really enjoyed your teaching about the body and the meditation and seeing what it is. But is the intention about attachment rather than, if I was young and beautiful and people attracted to me as I was attracted to someone else, is it wrong to be attracted and to be falling and go living for that moment? Well, at the same time, of course, when you're young, you don't really understand that it's attachment, and then what's inside is ugly, or not so ugly, but a beautiful work of engineering and art. So, what's wrong if you flow in that moment and luxuriate in your beautifulness as someone else luxuriates in it, and then of course you grow old, and I still think I'm beautiful, and I still think I'm a piece of art inside the body. So I'm not quite sure, is that the idea behind it as attachment or living in the moment? I'm not sure. Thank you.
Okay. Well, there's two things to talk about here. One is, what does living in the moment mean? lots of people talk about live in the moment, live in the moment, live in the moment. Okay, what does it mean? Yeah. I think it's kind of assumed this meaning of enjoy whatever is in front of you to enjoy. Don't think of the past, don't think of the future. Now, there is certain wisdom about not thinking of the past if we think of the past with remorse and guilt and shame. And there's also things positive to be said about not dwelling in the future if we're thinking about the future with anxiety and fear, or our mind just buzzing around, okay, with all sorts of things. But just living in the moment and enjoying the sense objects in front of you, yeah, how does that benefit your spiritual practice? Okay, I'm eating chocolate. I love chocolate. Yum, yum, yum. I'm in the moment savoring my chocolate. How does that enrich my wisdom? How does that make me more compassionate? Yeah. How does that get me closer to Buddhahood? How does that purify the negativities that I've created in previous lives? It doesn't do anything. If I'm a spiritual practitioner and I have that orientation and those aims in my life, just enjoying some sensual and pleasure in front of me at that moment doesn't do anything to benefit me. What it can do is trap me. Oh, that chocolate, so tasty. I should go sit and meditate now, but I'd rather sit here and eat more chocolate. Or, oh, okay, I have some extra money. I could make a donation for people who don't have enough food. But I remember that chocolate. I want more chocolate. I'll spend the money on the chocolate that I like. The people who don't have enough food, doesn't matter. Okay?
Thank you.
So there's, we really have to question, what does living in the moment really mean? Okay. If there are some questions ready, you can give me one or. Oh, yeah.
Venerable.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I think I have to go back during the early stage when I was with you.
Mm-hmm.
Really, rather than connected with the body, but I'm trying to recall about the meditation on the breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I do practice as well to be more effective. Breathing meditation, I connect with walking meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So let us simplify. My question to you now, I face from many years ago until now. I'm talking about in Asia then. Although I've been traveling a lot. One thing I noticed, Singapore is very peaceful, but there is something changed in the patience and calmness, yeah. Because I can recall, I just simplified. Last time when I driving car, people more patient, more give way. But now I'm not saying bad or good, But now the patience and give way is slightly less. So how to cultivate here people to be more patient and give way?
Yeah. Okay. Good question. This comes up in a lot of countries. I'm cutting in front of you. Too bad for you. Don't you cut in front of me. Yeah. And this love of loud noises. Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, guys, but it seems to me guys are the ones who love the loud noises and the engines. You know? Especially where we live in a rural area where the Abbey is, and sometimes the motorcycles, the guys are, I mean, it reverberates, okay? Anyway, I'm getting off the topic. Manners when driving. Yeah, and it's interesting. I've heard many Singaporeans comment about how the country has changed in recent years. You know, when I first came here, the population was 2.5 million. Now, what is it, around 6 million? Something like that. Yeah, you have a huge population boom, and people, I mean, it's a small island. And how much garbage can you put in the sea to create more land to build more flats on? Yeah. But, okay, so there's social planning. That's one thing. But it's really, again, an individual thing of what's going on in people's minds when they drive in a certain way. Well, they may like driving fast because it's fun. That's one thing. But there's also this thing of, I am in my car going somewhere, and this is my space in the road, and do not you dare cut in front of me and take my space in the road. Yeah, this is mine. And if you try and cut in front of me, it's because you think I'm a wimp and I'm going to let you do that. Well, I'm not a wimp and I'm not going to let you do that. Okay? Because your pride is there. And so you got to rush ahead and cut them off instead. You know, it's just ego. That's ego stuff. You know, if somebody wants to go ahead, let them go ahead. Yeah, it's like when you board a plane, some people are like pushing and shoving. They want to get on the plane first. We all arrive at the destination at the same time. It doesn't matter. Getting on the plane first doesn't get you there quicker. Yeah. But again, care and compassion and courtesy, common courtesy for other living beings is quite important, I think. I was with a friend of mine who was in labor having a baby. And she was going to have a baby at home with a midlife, but the baby wasn't coming out. So we decided, to take her to the hospital and have the baby there. So she's in the car, she's in labor, having contractions, and you hear stories of babies coming out on a highway or in a car. You hear stories of that. So, we're trying to get to the hospital as quick as we can. Yeah. Now, nobody at that time actually cut us off, but I could imagine that because we were, the driver was going as quick as he could, that somebody would say, oh, you're cutting in front of me, who do you think you are? And then cut in front of us. So, and then if there were a crash, they would have felt terrible because there's, a baby in the process of being born that was hurt during the crash. So I think basic thing is, somebody wants to get ahead of you on the road, let them go ahead. It's okay. It doesn't mean they're superior and you're inferior. It doesn't mean you have no honor. It doesn't mean you're a wimp. It doesn't mean any of that. It means that you're courteous and the other person isn't. Yeah. I talked to one young man who came to the Abbey, and he told me the story of driving along the highway. And somebody, with his fiancée, he was driving, she was in the passenger seat. Somebody came up, cut him off on the highway. He got mad. Nobody's going to cut me off. So he floored it, went ahead of the other car, cut the other car off, but in the process lost control of his car, went across 4 lanes of highway and wound up in a ditch. And then he realized he almost killed his fiancée. Because of his anger, he almost killed the person he loved. Mm-hmm.
Just to complete, not to confuse. The subject, I brought it up. Sorry.
Yeah. Can you shorten the question? Because we have a number of questions here.
I can use this one?
Yeah. Sure.
Speak about just now, my question, and also related to just now, Venerable say about the driving. Mm-hmm. What I can share here related to the driving. In Singapore, people driving what? There is a word in English, take and give. Is it correct? We can say correct. But what I learned, because I connect also with in the Scandinavian, I was from there before I came here. Rather than take and give, actually give and take. It's same English, but give and take, like just now Venerable say about driving, mm-hmm. It's not undercut. Give way, give and take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Got it? I don't know. My English may be not very clear.
Okay. No, that's good. We got the point. Thank you. So there's some other questions?
Dear Venerable.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I have 2 questions.
Uh-huh.
The first question is...
Ask them one at a time.
Okay. The first question is, we talk about the 4 distortions. Mm-hmm. So why is it that it seems that the distortions are quite ingrained when we're young? That means it seems to be easier to do bad than do good, easier to be non-virtual than virtual. Mm-hmm. That's the first question.
What's the question? You made
Why is it that, like, by default, it seems easier to be evil than good?
Well, some of it is because of previous life conditioning, and actions that we've done in previous lives. It's very easy to repeat those same actions in this life. That's one of the results of karma, is the tendency to do that action again. So, we're samsaric beings. We've created negative karma in the previous lives, that those habitual tendencies rise in this life. But the good part is that if we recognize those and we really put our effort into changing and creating new habits, then we will have new habits in this life, and those new habits will carry over to future lives too.
So my second question is, how much of this will carry forward? Will we forget and next life we start from zero again?
It's not a thing of remembering consciously, it's a thing of habit. Yeah, we do many things habitually because we're just familiar with that. Yeah, so we aim to create good mental, verbal, and physical habits. see here. Is the body really all that disgusting? What do you think? Yeah, do the meditation and then you can answer the question. Okay, sure, the insides don't look gorgeous, but when we think about how it works so hard to keep us alive, is it okay to appreciate it for what it is while maintaining non-attachment to it? When people ask me, is it okay to, is it okay to do da 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 da? I'm not quite sure what they want. Are they asking permission from me? You're asking me permission. Yes, it's okay for you to think the body works hard to keep you alive so you can appreciate. You don't need my permission for what you think. What you need is your wisdom. Okay. So yeah, we have to work hard to keep the body alive. The body's a very complex thing. There's so many things going on. We certainly can't make a body, although human beings would really like to. Wow, doesn't that mean we're terrific? We could make a body. Yeah. Yeah, it's really just about looking at the body for what it is. If you can appreciate, if you want to appreciate how the different organ systems function together, in our life, it is really rather kind of amazing how all that happens. Yeah, it's fine to be, to do that. You don't need my permission. You definitely don't want to be attached to your body. But if you're thinking about the body as this wondrous thing that can do so many things, remember it also breaks down. And there's also illness and injury. And from another perspective, the body is actually quite fragile. We could die like that. Okay, or is it dangerous too to, appreciate the body? Because as we get older, even the functions of our body start fading. That's the thing. If you're attached to it, whenever we're attached to something, we're setting ourselves up for pain. Because whatever we're attached to is going to change. Okay? So, yeah. Okay, the nature of things is impermanent. Without some effort, things naturally decay and die. Being mindful of this, is it bad to put effort to achieve some degree of permanence? For example, maintaining our health, our relationships with our loved ones. Again, you're putting a value judgment on it. Is it bad to put effort to achieve some degree of permanence? Don't ask me for value judgments about this. You look for yourself at your own experience. What happens when you try and make things last forever that have the nature of change? Yeah. So it doesn't mean you say, oh, well, it's going to change anyway. So, no use going to the doctor. I had a fight with my friend. It's impermanent. No use trying to work it out and be friends again. We're not talking about that, about just saying, oh, nothing matters. Yeah. No, we try and create virtue. We try and do things that are good in the world. Yeah. But to realize that if we're trying to fix everything down so that we feel secure, we're never going to arrive at that state of security because we can't pin everything down. Yeah. And actually, I think life is much more interesting if we look at life as an adventure instead of, experiencing new things and different things happening that we didn't expect. Yeah. Rather than I'm trying to nail everything down. It can't change. It's got to be the way it was. And then repeating it over and over and over again. That's doesn't really get us anywhere. Okay. Oops, our time is out. We'll do one question more. So are the skeleton meditations done as a set, or do we do the first one for some time before doing the next one? They usually recommend doing one and developing that one for a while and really understanding it, and then going on to the next one. Are the skeleton meditations to be done on others as well? Yes, if you're attracted to somebody or just a society in general, a bunch of walking skeletons, like Shantideva was saying. How does meditation on the breath counter attachment to the body? It's not a particular meditation on the breath isn't an antidote to attachment to the body. It's an antidote to swirling thoughts and obsessive thoughts and stuff like that. Okay, so we'll end today, and then tomorrow we'll do the other 3 mindfulnesses. So tonight and tomorrow morning, do some of the practices. Think about what you learned, yeah, and remember what the conclusion is. Yeah. Remember when you do it, the conclusion with the body is not to go, ugh, the body is terrible, like I should just kill myself, my body is so rotten. That is not the correct conclusion to come to. Okay? I say that because at the time of the Buddha, yeah, some monks were doing that meditation, and then they came to the wrong conclusion and said, oh, my body's so disgusting, I want to die. And they asked another monk to kill them. No, that's not the right conclusion. Yeah. We keep our body alive. It's the basis of our precious human life. And we use it to create good in the world, and we use it to create, I have the hiccups, merit and wisdom, so we can progress on the path.